was locked up for 54 days because the detective did poor investigation work. I've gone to the local press about this and was told that what happened to me happens quite a bit. They took down my info but never followed up. So what I did was create a website sharing my story. I also uploaded the police report and some other documents from the discovery. Literally, the only reason why I was arrested was because an eyewitness said they saw me. If the detective had done his job, he could have verified that I wasn't even in town on the day the crimes took place.
Yeah, pretty similar amount to the screen, because mine is like a rectangular that has to press.
Are we playing the
I'm
least
writing this now
interesting
because
games
my
then?
website is now ranked number 2 on the first page of search results when you type in my town's name. I live in a touristy town and we attract a lot of visitors over the summer. My web traffic has more than quadrupled, and apparently it's gotten someone high up's attention. I received a cease and desist letter recently, which I showed to my attorney. He said sharing my experience online isn't illegal, and that everything I had stated was a fact or my own opinion, protecting me from a defamation lawsuit. Yesterday, I received a visit from 2 officers and the detective who had arrested me. He apologized, stating, "Mistakes can happen." They then talked to me about my website and asked if I could remove it. I said I would delete it on the condition that the detective leave his job and never do police work again. Suffice to say, that isn't happening. After the visit I received, I'm more pissed off than the only reason the detective apologized to me was to get me to take down my website. I don't plan to, and the only one supporting this is my girlfriend. My friends think I'm being spiteful and have suggested that I just delete it. Am I the a-hole for keeping my website up? No, you are not. You are keeping police accountable, as you should, because they get away with this all the time, according to the press that you talk to. So yeah, leave it up so people can, know that this is happening. Not the a-hole, but watch your back. It doesn't sound like they'd have much of a problem coming up with some BS to get you arrested again. This is very true. Definitely keep your wits about you, but it does sound like you have your attorney still, around, so you have good legal advice, I hope.
Am I the a-hole for calling the police on my boyfriend's family? Last year, I moved in with my BF and his dad. My BF and I were in a long-distance relationship for a few years, and I moved across the country to be with him after I finished graduate school. Due to such a large distance, I opted to sell my car and buy a new one after moving. When I did this, my boyfriend helped me out by loaning me some money to help pay the down payment, but I have since paid him back. Last week, my BF's older sister, who lives in another state, came to visit and stayed in the house with us. This is my first time meeting her, and I thought she was very nice, but I didn't get to know her well. 2 days ago, my BF and I were out running errands together, and his sister called him to ask when he would be back, so she could borrow his car to hang out with her friend in the town about an hour away. He told her it would be a while, and then asked if it was okay to borrow my car. My boyfriend asked me, and I told him I was not comfortable with that, and to tell her no. My boyfriend did tell her no, and I heard the entire conversation. Well, a few hours later, my boyfriend and I got home, and my car was gone. I was shocked, and my boyfriend was confused. We went into the house. His dad informed us that he gave my BF's sister the spare key to my car that was in the lockbox because she said she needed to go somewhere. My boyfriend told him that she asked to drive my car and that we had told her no, so he didn't understand why she was allowed to take it. And his dad said that since my BF helped pay for the car, that it therefore was partly his, which meant his sister had the right to drive it as well. I was absolutely livid, and I couldn't believe that anyone would do something like this. My name is the only one on the title, insurance, etc. I am the sole owner. My BF told his dad to call her and tell her to bring my car back immediately and said she would be home soon. Well, after 2 hours, I called the police and reported my car stolen because I was worried that if it got damaged or something, then I would be forced to pay the repairs. Even though
there might be a moment for this, but because everyone has it, warning.
Is there supposed to be a main focus for this? Stream, any one particular thing, or is it just turn off the brain?
No, honestly, I've been watching the
too far. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She straight up stole your car. If she had gotten arrested, she'd have no one to blame but herself. Also, considering what an a-hole your BF's dad is, you probably should look into moving out as soon as you can. Not the a-hole. She asked to borrow your car and you said no. She took the car despite you saying no. She stole your car. You reported her for stealing your car because, again, she stole your car. Don't back down, or I predict this sort of thing will happen more in the future with your sister-in-law and father-in-law. Not the a-hole. The dad and sister are thieves and FAFO'd. If they get arrested, yay. Do not apologize. Do not retract the police report. I just want to be nosy. What's your plan? Because you know you're getting kicked out after this, right? Not the a-hole. If they don't want to be accused of stealing, then maybe they shouldn't take someone else's property without permission. Am I the a-hole for getting a pregnancy craving during a party? I, 29 female, am pregnant with my boyfriend Sam, 32. Sam and I went to a party for his family. No momentous occasion, just a normal family get-together. During my pregnancy, I have had intense craving. While we were at the party, I told Sam I was craving a slushie. About 30 minutes away. We had just arrived about 20 minutes prior, and he said to give him a little while, and we'd go get one. After about 30 more minutes, I said it again to Sam. He said, fine, get in the car. On our way, we got into an argument, and he thinks the craving could have waited a couple hours. He's now mad at me we have to leave the party early. We see his family 2 to 3 times a month, sometimes more, and I don't think it's a big deal to leave when I have a craving. Am I the a-hole? Thank you everyone, I get it, I'm the a-hole. But I can't handle the death threats in my inbox, so I'll be deleting this account off my phone. Is there a word for pregnant women that's synonymous with bridezilla for brides? There should be. You're the a-hole for not being able to wait an hour longer. You're the a-hole. You don't have to have everything you crave during your pregnancy the second it pops into your head. You could have waited. Also, why couldn't you go and get it yourself if you wanted it so badly? Why did he need to go with? You're the a-hole. I've had 2 kids. I get cravings, but you don't get to demand that your BF leave a get-together 20 minutes after you've driven 30 minutes to get there. Yes, he put it off, and you were oh so not patient for another 30 minutes. SMDH. It's a big deal, and honestly, seems like a total power play. I would really consider how long he's going to stick around for this kind of disregard for him and his wants. You're the a-hole. Just because you get a craving doesn't mean everybody has to drop everything to accommodate you. If you don't get the slushy, you'll live. Even in such a short post, you come off as childish and entitled. I've got 5 offspring. There's nothing you can tell me about cravings I haven't experienced. You're the a-hole. Cravings are not an immediate, oh my god, must have it now or I'll perish need. Grow up. Would I be the a-hole for not attending my brother's birthday party because I can't bring my dog? I, 28F, have a 3-year-old German Shepherd, Lou, who's the sweetest dog I've ever met. She's very cuddly and loving once she's gotten used to you. However, she was abused as a puppy and has separation anxiety. We've been working with a professional trainer and she's been making improvements, but currently leaving her home alone for more than an hour simply isn't possible. My brother lives 45 minutes away. It's hard to gain her trust, so getting someone to watch her on short notice is nearly impossible. The last time I visited my brother, 39M, his wife, 42F, stepped on Lou's tail and quite obviously it hurt. She didn't bite or even try to do so, but she barked quite loudly before running to hide behind me. I asked my sister-in-law whether she was alright and she said she was, so I didn't think anything else of it. After all, she'd known Lou for almost 2 years before the incident, but my brother invited me to his birthday party next weekend and he told me to leave Lou at home, and when I asked for the reason, he told me sister-in-law thought she was too aggressive to be around the guests. She isn't, but it's their house, their rules, and I want to respect their wishes, so I simply called my usual dog sitter, who told me that unfortunately they weren't available. Anyone else who has watched Lou in the past will also be at my brother's party, so I don't have anyone to watch her. I told my brother I could either A, bring Lou and keep her on a leash at all times, or B, take Lou with me and take turns with my mom walking her around the neighborhood so I could be able to stay a bit without his wife having to face my dog, or C, come over with Lou in the car to congratulate him and bring over his present, but leave shortly afterwards as I don't want her to be alone for the car for more than 15 minutes. He told me that he didn't like any of these options because his wife didn't want my aggressive dog on their property, in their driveway, or in their neighborhood in general. I apologized and told him if that was the case, I wouldn't be able to come at all. He just told me he's disappointed, but especially my sister-in-law has been bombarding me with texts about how he's selfish for putting my dog before my brother, and that I was an a-hole of a sister to do that to him on his 40th birthday. I think I've proposed reasonable enough compromises, edit, and because all of them were declined, I don't see what other options I have left except for staying home. But in the end, I'd still like to hear the opinions of unbiased internet strangers to be sure. Not the a-hole. Your dog is preventing you from attending some social event, and if that is how you want your life to be, then it's only up to you. Sucks for your friends and family, but that's your decision. You cannot be forced to abandon your pet, but you cannot force people to be around him. Not the a-hole. If they don't like any options you gave them, they shouldn't expect you to attend. Not wanting the dog in their neighborhood is a bit over the top. I know you love your dog, but you can't leave it alone for over an hour. That's a big problem. You're making your life revolve around the dog. That should add to your life, not take things and people away from it. Please get help from a trainer to help your dog overcome its separation anxiety. Not the a-hole. Next time your sitter is available, leave the dog with them and go out to do something for your brother's belated birthday and give him his present. There. Simple. Not the a-hole. You were invited to the party and you can politely decline to go to a party. I've not been on vacation for 4 years because I have a large house dog. She doesn't do well in hot weather and she has separation anxiety for me to be gone longer than 10 to 12 hours. She's okay with my in-laws but starts to hunt for us a few hours after, so we simply don't go if we can't take her. Dogs are a commitment that you sign up for. Am I the a-hole for sending our son away after he revealed to his sister's friends that she has dentures? My husband and I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. When our daughter was 8, she developed a very rare mouth infection that just absolutely devastated her teeth and gums. She ended up losing all her teeth in both sets and had to have some corrective work done just so she could have regular dentures. Obviously, this was very traumatic for her, and she's still in therapy to help cope to this day. Our daughter is very understandably self-conscious about this, and none of her friends knew about them. In fact, nobody besides her doctor and dentist know outside the family, and she doesn't want people to know. She's very worried about people finding out, and won't even take her teeth out in front of the rest of us. She's worried someone will see. Her and her brother had a good relationship until he did what he did last week. He somehow recorded her taking out her teeth without her noticing, and then showed all her friends when they were over. Not only have they all turned on her, but half the school is teasing her non-stop, and she even had to change her phone number because dozens of kids texting her the most vile things imaginable. I've never been more ashamed of one of my children until that moment. I don't know where we went wrong raising him, but apparently he thought it would be funny. After I kicked out her friends who were mocking her and helped her through a panic attack, I called my father to pick him up and told him to pack a bag and get out. He's been staying with my parents 2 towns over. They didn't know what happened until 2 days ago. That came up because driving him to school was becoming a hassle and they wanted to know what was up. When I explained, they were disgusted, but still wanted to know if they could bring him home. I asked them if they'd take care of registering him for school in their town, and they agreed, but were shocked. My husband and I talked, and we just cannot have him here. My sister hates him. We're so ashamed we can't even think of calling him. It sounds awful, but I don't think our relationship can recover from this. And maybe this is what he needs. No friends, no family aside from his grandparents. Having to start over might set him right. My parents are willing to keep him until he's 18, but think we're too emotionally charged to be making this decision now. What he did was vile, and he deserves a harsh punishment for what he did to his sister. However, I don't think the punishment issued fits the crime. You can't just throw your son away, and you can come back from this. It will take a lot of therapy for all of you, but it can happen. I honestly don't know how to judge this post, though. Everybody sucks here. I love that you have your daughter's back and apply serious consequences for your son. What I don't love is that you didn't mention how he reacted to the aftermath of what he has done and the consequences. I also think it is an overreaction to permanently disown your son and cut him from your life. He is still your son. Yes, terrible mistake, but still a minor and still your son. You should be working with him and not just be like this. So yes, let him live with his grandparents.
Wait, I'm the OP of that tab?
Not your daughter's relationship with him. Call,
I didn't know I was the person that made that chat.
You don't kick children out instead of parenting them. You're the a-hole. He's your son and he's a kid. Kids make mistakes.
I just wasn't aware that I was the one who made the cellulose
disown your kid instead of just teaching them a lesson. If you continue doing what you're doing, don't be surprised if your son keeps up no contact when he's older and wants nothing to do with you. Would I be the a-hole if I took my son and his friends out for his birthday instead of my wife and stepdaughters? I am 42, have 3 kids, a son Isaac, 12, almost 13, with my ex, who's no longer in the picture, and twin stepdaughters from wife's previous relationship, Emma and Ava, 7. Isaac's 13th birthday is coming up next week, and he said that he wants to go to the movies and asked if he could bring 2 friends along. I agreed, and we planned out a day of fun, arcade, pizza, and a movie. They were all activities that I know my son and his friends, nerdy middle school boys, would enjoy. When I told my wife about our plans, she suggested that we should have a family outing instead and proposed a local kiddie play place that my stepdaughters apparently love. I said that Isaac and his friends would be very disappointed and that he wouldn't have fun at a kiddie play place. She tried to convince me that Isaac could still have fun because there was an arcade, 2 claw machines, a pinball table, and a small DDR machine. She also said that since he sees his friends at school every day, family time should be prioritized over friends. I told her that it was unfair to force Isaac to spend his birthday at a kiddie play place instead of with his friends. She accused me of favoritism and of not loving my stepdaughters as much as Isaac. This hit me pretty hard because I grew up with a stepfather who neglected me in favor of his own kids. And I've been trying my hardest to be the father figure I never had. I've been spiraling down a rabbit hole of doubt about my own choices, and for the sake of my own sanity, would I be the a-hole? Say, I would never ask the girls to spend their birthday doing something Isaac wanted to do, and you should show the same respect. Also, she's gaslighting the heck out of you, and I'm betting it's not the first time. You would not be the a-hole. Ironically, if you did go along with your wife's idea, you would be showing favoritism to your stepdaughters over your son. Stand your ground. Your wife is emotionally manipulating you, not the a-hole. Play place is not somewhere a 13-year-old lad wants to take his friends for his birthday. It's his birthday, not the daughter's. As much as I understand the wanting to do family things, you can do that on another day. Not the a-hole, but shouldn't you be concerned that your wife is neglecting your son in favor of her own kids? It seems like she's accusing you of doing what she's actually doing by trying to force Isaac into the kiddie play place for his birthday. Is this a pattern for her? Not the a-hole? Your wife is showing favoritism to her daughters. This is Isaac's birthday celebration, not Emma and Ava's. And does she know about your issues with your step-parent? Because if she does, then she's a bigger a-hole for using it against you. Am I the a-hole for taking up 2 seats on a bus? I ride the bus because I can't afford a car, insurance, gas, etc. I'm 19F and I live in the US for context. A couple days ago, I was on a bus that wasn't that busy, not empty, but there were multiple unused seats and no one had to stand. I'd just gone shopping and had heavy bags that were hard to carry and hardly fit in front of my legs. So I sat in one seat and placed my bags on the seat next to me, essentially taking up 2 seats on my own, since it wasn't crowded when I got on and didn't see an issue. And like I said, the bags were super heavy and hard to carry, so I wanted to set them down. The bus ride was kind of long, and as it went on, more and more people got on the bus. It eventually got pretty crowded to the point where some people had to stand up. I didn't ever move my bag or offer a seat to someone. In my experience, most people don't want to sit next to strangers anyway, and a lot of the time, people will end up standing instead of sitting in an empty seat next to someone they don't know. Also, no one said anything to me. At the last stop, ended at the bus station where pretty much everyone was getting off, someone passive-aggressively told me, you could have moved your bag and not been inconsiderate and rude. Everyone wants to sit, not just you, or something along those lines. I didn't really respond because I didn't know what to say. The person who said that never asked me to move my stuff, and if they did, I probably would have. So I don't understand how I was being rude. They could have asked during the ride instead of insulting me after it was already done. Buses are also generally first come, first serve, so I think my behavior was normal. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. If there is no seat, move your freaking bag, LOL. How can you ride it and think you aren't? You're the a-hole. You don't wait for someone to ask you to do the right thing. You're the a-hole. Once the bus was getting more crowded, to the point where people were standing, you should have moved your bags. You shouldn't need to be asked to do so. It's just a common courtesy. You're the a-hole. You saw the bus was full and didn't move your bags. That's exactly what rude a-holes do. Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter to learn sign language? I, 49F, recently married my husband, 52M, who has a deaf 7-year-old daughter. She communicates solely via ASL. For some background, my daughter, 17F, is generally very non-problematic teenager. She does amazing in school and has never caused any problems other than regular teenage hormone stuff. However, she doesn't like my husband and stepdaughter. She's not outwardly rude, but basically ignores their existence. Skipped stepdaughter's birthday party, doesn't engage in anything other than basic small talk with my husband. I did try to do family activities together to have the bond and all, but I stopped pushing it when it didn't happen, and as long as she's not being outwardly rude or harmful to them, I can't exactly punish her for not liking them. Now, since my relationship with my now husband started getting serious, I started taking ASL classes, and I'm now basically as fluent as a hearing person can be. My daughter, however, never made an effort, which is okay since she technically has no responsibility towards her. However, recently my daughter has started watching Stepdaughter paid when we aren't around, which changes things. In my opinion, as she is now spending time in which she is responsible for a young child, she needs to learn at least basic communication. When I brought it up to her, she outright refused to make any effort at all. I tried recommending YouTube videos, but she refused to try learning even a couple words. She's saying that she's not responsible for my choice to be in the life of a disabled child. This issue has also been causing a lot of problems in my marriage. My husband confided in me that he's starting to feel uncomfortable with his young daughter living in with someone who is so cold. She refuses to even make the most basic effort or engage with her at all. He has brought up that he is considering divorce due to his concerns about how stepdaughter would be affected by this. So given all that, I had to finally put my foot down. I told my daughter that we have a disabled person living in our household for the foreseeable future, and if she wants to live here for college, graduating next month, she has to at least learn basic ASL. She doesn't have to like her stepfather and stepsister, nor does she have to hang out with them, but she has to have the ability to communicate with her for the sake of safety and basic decency. I made it clear that if she chooses not to, she is welcome to live in a dorm that I will pay for. It's just that living in our house, that is also my stepdaughter's house, my husband and I paid for the house equally. Comes with basic rules. Well, my daughter hasn't spoken to me for 7 days, so it's about time I ask. Am I the a-hole? Everybody sucks here except the youngling. Your daughter is the a-hole because she misplaces her frustration and emotional discomfort of your new marriage on her stepsister, the last person on earth who it should be put on. Maybe she even resents that you made her watch, paid or not. Your husband is the a-hole because he threatens you with divorce over this. Instead of talking and asking your daughter how she feels, or consider a different babysitter, he pulls out the nuclear option to your relationship. You are the a-hole because you throw your daughter under the bus for marriage's sake and then threaten to kick her out instead of being a mother and trying to understand her and offer her a bailout, aka a different babysitter. Edit, disagreeing with my POV is fine, but you don't need to DM me insults. Info, when does she turn 18? He's brought up that he is considering divorce due to his concerns about how stepdaughter will be affected by this. I'm gonna divorce you unless you kick out your 17-year-old daughter or make her learn sign language is an ugly ultimatum. Daughter no longer watches stepdaughter. Problem solved. I don't think trying to force this is going to end well. I think it's no big deal to learn a few basics in another language, but that's just me. Maybe you should have thought about this / checked before marriage. I'm gonna go with you're the a-hole. This isn't her marriage, her stepdaughter, or her responsibility. Obvious you're the a-hole. You get it right in the first part of this post when you point out that your daughter doesn't like, not does she have any responsibility towards your husband and stepdaughter. It's only when your husband threatened you with consequences that you start racking up. Yeah, your daughter definitely shouldn't be babysitting her without knowing ASL, so find a different babysitter. You threatening to kick her out of her own home because you are actively choosing your stepdaughter over her is disgusting. You're the a-hole for having presumably years to see your daughter doesn't consider your new family to be her family. She's allowed to be indifferent to what are essentially some random roommates you've decided to move in. Not everyone has the skill or time to learn a second language, and you've decided that in her senior year, when she's so busy with all that entails, she needs to learn an entirely new skill to satisfy these random roommates of yours. Otherwise, you're permanently kicking her out of her home and your life. Get a whiteboard for them to communicate with each other in emergencies, and then deal with the fact that you've done a terrible job blending these two families. Am I the a-hole for not giving my coworker my day off because I want to play a video game? Okay, so anyone in the video game world knows that next week the new Legend of Zelda game comes out after like 5+ years of waiting. I'm a massive fan. When the release date was revealed, I immediately requested PTO for that date as I plan on staying home that day and enjoying the new game. What I didn't realize was that the day I asked off of is Friday before Mother's Day. My company has had to limit the request off for that date now, as many people have been asking off for it. I had previously told some of my coworkers I was planning on staying home to play the game, and I guess word got around because one of my coworkers asked me after work to give her my PTO so she can travel for Mother's Day. I explained to her that I requested this day off months ago for a specific reason, and I wasn't really willing to change it. She got pretty upset with me, claiming I care more about video games than family and whatnot. I honestly don't really care about her not being able to travel, because I feel like if this was an important date, then you would have requested off early, like I did. Anyways, I firmly told her no, but she told some of my other coworkers, and they are pissed at me, calling me an a-hole for not giving up the date. Am I the a-hole? Edited typos. Ugh, this one's gonna be ugly. I would have told her I care more about my family than video games. Your family not so much. Her family's not your responsibility, and she should have planned better. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Same goes for any other holiday. I'm child-free by choice, and people always seem to think that means I should be the one working holidays. It doesn't matter if the reason you have the day off is for a video game. It's your day off. Enjoy it. Birthday week. Mother's Day week. People need to calm down. Not the a-hole. Mother's Day has been on the calendar all year. Hell, they could have figured out when Mother's Day 2023 was last year. Enjoy the game. Not the a-hole. You're allowed to care more about your own happiness than about her happiness. Oh, I guess it wasn't that ugly after all. Silly me. Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my neighbors after they took a package off my porch? I, 38F, live alone in the house I grew up in. It was left to me by my mother after she passed away 10 years ago. About 4 years ago, a couple about my age moved in next door, and we've pretty much been at odds since day one. There have been numerous times and issues that we've disagreed on. I have 3 cats that I sometimes let out into my backyard. My neighbors have a dog that would jump the 5-foot chain link fence separating our yards to chase my cats. I told my neighbors if I caught their dog doing it again, I would call the cops. They actually had the audacity to ask if I would be willing to split the cost of a taller privacy fence instead of, training your dog not to jump the fence. Obviously, I refused, as I wasn't the one causing the problem, and the fence is technically on their property anyway. They ended up putting in a taller fence. Then they asked me to split the cost of taking down an ash tree that was on their property. It had become infested with some bug that killed the tree, and dead limbs were falling on their driveway. They had the city come out, and the survey guy said the tree was actually about 10% on my property. I told them the tree was theirs, and if they want it down, they'll have to pay for it because I don't have a problem with it. Needless to say, we're not friends. They've also thrown some loud, late-night parties that include bonfires and loud music that I had to call the cops for as well. I'm currently out of town visiting family for a couple weeks. I have a friend who comes over to my house every day to check on my cats and check for mail and packages. I have medication for my cats that are delivered regularly. I got a notification the other day that some packages were delivered, so I texted my friend to let them know. But before my friend could get there, I got a notification from my Ring doorbell, pulled up the live feed, and saw my neighbor on my patio. I asked him what he was doing, and he said a package of theirs got delivered to my house by mistake, so he was just grabbing it. I told him to leave, and that my friend would bring over his package when she comes over. He said he's not waiting for that and tried to leave. I told him that if he takes my package from my porch, I'm calling the cops. He shut the package in front of the camera and said, "That's my name and address, OP. I'm taking my package." Then he walked away. So I called the police and told them that he stole a package from me and I had video proof. They said they would investigate. When my friends got there a little later, the police were talking to my neighbors. The police must have left while she was checking on my cats, because when she went to leave, it was just my neighbors outside. The husband yelled at her to tell me that I'm a huge a-hole and that I need to take the police off speed dial and let them deal with more important stuff instead of using them as my own personal problem-solving service. Oh, this one's gonna be ugly. You're the a-hole. I get the fence thing. You could have pitched in on a tree just to chill things out. Calling the police about the parties without talking to them about it first is very a-hole. If it was his package and it had their name and address on it, calling the cops on them was also an a-hole move. You're officially an a-hole neighbor now. You're the a-hole, sure. You don't get along, but stop calling the cops for trivial matters. Do you actually think they were stealing a package, or were you just trying to continue this grudge and be petty? You're the a-hole. They sound like absolutely awful neighbors, and under any circumstances I'd side with you in a second, but you called the cops and accused them of stealing their own package. They didn't steal from you. They fetched something that belonged to them off your porch. And while yes, I suppose they were trespassing, if you get medication delivered, then you know that sometimes packages can't wait. And perhaps this was a situation like that, and it doesn't sound like you cared to listen to anything they had to explain. If you want to be seen as the better person than your a-hole neighbors, then you have to actually be the better person. You're the a-hole. You sound like the miserable neighbor in this scenario, not them. Yeah, there we go. Get owned, neighbor. Stupid idiot. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that my brother didn't invite my son over for a slumber party? I have a 10-year-old son, Julian, who is pretty close with my nephew and his cousin, Parker. You can't separate them when they ate together. I live 2 blocks away from my brother and his wife and Parker. I asked my brother on Friday if Parker wanted Julian to spend the weekend at his house, since it was a long weekend. My brother said that they had already made plans, and I asked what plans, and maybe Parker would like to have Julian tag along, so he has a playmate. He said it was something for his wife. On Saturday, I found out that my brother lied. Parker actually had a slumber party, and I found out because I saw them all walking to Denny's yesterday morning. I called my brother out, and he said he didn't want my son to feel left out, so he lied. He said it didn't feel right to have an innocent 10-year-old around a bunch bunch of 12-year-old boys because they'd eat him alive. I said that was bullshit, and he needs to text Julius right now and ask if he'd like to join this weekend's slumber party because he'll be crushed if he finds out that he was left out. He said no. So I ended up calling her mom, who lives with my brother, and explained the situation. I caused a lot of drama between her and my brother and my sister-in-law, but my son got invited and declined because he is holding out to go to the aquarium. My brother was livid, and I said that if he had asked in the first place, then none of this would have happened and there would be no drama. You're the a-hole. Your son is not entitled to an invite, and no one likes someone trying to force someone to invite you. Info. Why do you think your 10-year-old son should be invited to a 12-year-old slumber party? Why do you think your son should spend a 3-day weekend at your brother's house? Why did you run to your mommy about an issue that did not involve her? You're the a-hole. Your son acts more mature than you do. You're the a-hole. There's a huge maturity difference between 10 and 12. So your brother's decision to exclude Julian was reasonable. You were wildly out of line to call your mother and start drama. You're the a-hole. Your nephew was allowed to have his own friend group. Stop micromanaging your brother. You're the a-hole. You wanted a weekend free from Julian and got mad that your brother didn't want to go along with it. You are not entitled to push your kid off on other people, nor is your brother obligated to include your son in everything he does with his kid. Don't hold your breath for that aquarium invitation. Am I the a-hole for swearing at a coworker for contacting me while on Do Not Disturb? I have a coworker who comes to me for assistance. That's fine. However, when I'm on Do Not Disturb in Teams, he will send multiple emails or call me on my phone. It's never anything important, just minor stuff that could wait until my meetings are over. I've talked to him 3 or 4 times, telling him that he needs to either wait or if he must email me, it has to stop at 1 and I'll reply to him when I can. He's sent emails every few minutes asking for an answer, and if I decline his call, he'll call right back. He's been talked to by management about this. Last week, I sent him a terse email when he emailed me several times during an important meeting. Stop. I've told you I'll get back to you when I can. If I'm on Do Not Disturb, that doesn't mean unless your name is Joe. This is the last time I'll be polite. Finally, he emailed me again on Monday multiple times. So I replied with something along the lines of, do you know how to fucking read? Have you listened to a goddamn thing I've said? Do Not Disturb means leave me the fuck alone. We've had polite conversations about this, but I'm gonna be more blunt. Off. You're actively hindering my work. No, he's not trying to bait me. He just thinks he should be able to get an answer right away from a person. He and a few coworkers claim I was an asshole and out of line for swearing at him and being demeaning. Am I the a-hole? Everybody sucks here. Your correct course of action should be to CC his manager on one of the multiple emails you get from him, explaining that you've asked him to stop calling you on your phone and sending you multiple emails demanding an answer when you're in meetings. If you cuss out your coworkers, expect a call from HR or talking to yourself about professional conduct in the workplace. A-hole plus a-hole equals 2 a-holes. Not one a-hole and the one guy in the right when it comes to a professional setting. Everybody sucks here. A colleague is annoying, so rather than take it to their supervisor, I started swearing at them and sent them an incredibly aggressive email. Both of you are in the wrong here. He's guilty of not being patient, but you're being abusive and hostile over a comparatively petty annoyance. Your response is wildly disproportionate to the offense, and if he's sending you multiple emails while you're on D&D, take it to a supervisor and let them deal with it. That's literally their job. Now you've just made yourself look like an aggressive a-hole and potentially created more problems for yourself. It might have been satisfying to blow up at him, but it wasn't helpful and could very easily bite you in the ass. Everybody sucks here. Your coworker sounds like a nightmare, honestly, but you're the a-hole because you responded in a way that turned an inconvenience into a hostile work environment. What are you doing checking your emails during a meeting anyway? That's on you. If you're annoyed by the notification sound, then turn off your notifications. You can prevent calls by taking your landline off the hook or setting up D&D on your mobile phone. Am I the a-hole for neutering a cat that is clearly owned? I run a TNR program for feral cats. Non-profit. I catch all cats and give them the medical attention they need myself out of my own pocket. I love helping them. A lot of the cats are not able to be rehomed, so I fix them and release them, get them their shots and hope for the best. I'm not a large-scale operation. Recently, I was called to an area overrun with orange cats. They were everywhere, and I mostly ended up handing it over to the professionals. 3 very sweet cats. 2 were terrified, skinny, a little beaten up, but overall friendly, and the third one was a little gent. He was tubby, well-groomed,
So I can like go back to
the
sleep
works.
normally.
My plan was to find his parents and drop him off with a warning to keep him in due to large amounts of traps being set. Then the little bastard sprayed the inside of my car to the freaking max. So apparently he wasn't fixed. I couldn't really tell, long hair, and assumed he was, so I left my covers off. Big mistake. I debated taking him home,